All right, everybody. So, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Good morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting, Board of Fire Commissioners. Date is Tuesday, September 3rd. It's about 9:02 in the morning.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Glazier, Hara, Nimberg, and Woods are present, and we have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute.
Please stand, right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devoted their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Great. So we begin, as always, with Commissioner comments. No?
Okay.
No? All right. So,
Actually,
Dr.
yeah.
Hara.
So my granddaughter and my son and I had the opportunity to enjoy Fleet Week, and want to thank Chief Villanueva and Station 112. And then 85 had all their apparatus there as well, so that was kind of nice. And then the museum actually had the old fireboat there as well, so that was kind of a great event. And actually, since I was late at the last commission meeting, I failed to report. I was unable to report the fact that I participated again with Chief Legal at the Nisa Week parade, and the Y Readers, their entire family was there, and so was former Chief David Yamahata, since he's president of the Nisa Week.
Didn't know that.
And so he had his whole clan there as well, and so it was a great event.
That's awesome. Thank you. Reports of the fire chief.
Thank you, Madam President. On August 20th, we did an interview on the rooftop of the parking structure adjoining, actually to the rear of Fire Station 9. It was with ABC National News to highlight all the innovative programs going on in Skid Row that the fire department has been using to deal with the homeless issue. On the 21st, we had our press conference at Air Ops to announce our new helicopter and all the things that we're doing in preparation for this year's brush season. We did show the Erickson air crane, showed drones and a lot of other related tools. The Super Scooper, I'm happy to report, is now at Van Nuys, so they're in service effective September 1st. On August 21st, 2nd, and 3rd, we had a safety stand down at our fire stations to talk about our new decontamination policy, which is an effort to prevent cancer. A lot of questions. I think it was very well and universally received by everybody. People understand the intent. Questions that I got when I visited Fire Station 26 were about the nuts and bolts, exactly who is going to get deconned, who makes that decision. They pointed out they need an extractor, and I told them we're working on it. We do have a plan in place. We do want to increase the number of extractors. Right now we have 70, so that means we have 36 stations without extractors. The foundation has purchased 5. 3 are replacements, and 2 will be new installations, one of which will go to Fire Station 26, and the other one's going to Fire Station 57. Partnering with UFLAC President Escobar to figure out how we're going to get those done, because it will take a little bit of construction to provide some protection from the elements, because there's no space literally inside those 2 fire stations. On August 26th, I rode along with the mayor on our Fast Response Vehicle 9 through Skid Row. We had 3 or 4 incidents, various types. I think it was good for our mayor to see our firefighter paramedics from their perspective and how they do their job. The mayor was an excellent navigator. He knew exactly how to direct the driver because he was sitting in the co-pilot seat. And I told the mayor, I can't ever recall a mayor riding out on one of our apparatus. You know, we've had mayors come to the stations. We have presidents come to fire stations. but he was actively involved, and I think it was good to see the issue from perspective of our people. And then on the 28th, we had a press conference in front of the police station across the street from Fire Station 64. It was about the cannabis enforcement effort. We are participating with the Cannabis Task Force to reduce the number of unregulated cannabis operators. There's a lot of hazards associated with unregulated cannabis businesses. We're getting complaints from the regulated businesses, plus the public health aspect. People don't know what type of cannabis they're using. Sometimes they have found illegal pesticides in there, in the cannabis, and then my inspectors tell me when they go into an unregulated occupancy, a cannabis occupancy, it smells different because they use different chemicals. It's not as clean, and there's a lot of fire hazards. There's a lot of illegal wiring. There's when they shut the power down, they bring in generators, and those generators are not permitted, and then they bring in gasoline to fuel the generators, and there's a certain way you have to store gasoline. So the problems are significant. So it was a department, citywide effort to crack down on unregulated cannabis businesses. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to verbal report by the department on significant incidents from August 20th to September 2nd of this year.
Good morning, Madam President,
Morning.
Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Council, and Isilla. My name is Philip Flegel, Operations Central Bureau Deputy Chief. Today I'd like to talk to you about an incident we had to review the significant brush fire that occurred on Sunday, August 25th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. On that afternoon, the Los Angeles Fire Department responded to a reported brush fire in Fire Station 42's first in, located in the Eagle Rock area neighborhood of the city, which also bordered the city of Glendale. First arriving LAFD resources found approximately 1 acre of light to medium brush traveling upslope near the intersection of the 134 freeway and the 2 freeway. The fire then spotted to across north of the 134 freeway towards the city of Glendale and quickly developed into 5 acres. Firefighters quickly anchored and flanked the fire and also provided structured defense to the values at risk. First arriving battalion chief rapidly developed a situational awareness and implemented an incident command system organization to mitigate the incident. Due to the potential size, scope, and complexity of the fire, and due to the fire's march towards the city of Glendale, LAFD and Glendale Fire Departments entered into a unified command to jointly mitigate the incident. LAFD helicopters, LA County helicopters, and our contracted helitanker that we now have with us conducted numerous continuous water drops to slow the forward progress of the fire. By 7 p.m. that night, 3.5 hours later, the incident and the fire had grown to 30 acres, and the forward progression of the fire had been stopped. Firefighters established hose lines around the whole entire perimeter of the fire. On Monday, August 26th, the fire moved into a more managed phase of the incident. For the next 2 days, LAFD and Glendale resources continue to improve upon the containment lines and cold trail the fire, which had grown to now 45 acres. On Tuesday, August 27th at 6:30 p.m., 100% containment of the fire was achieved, and the LAFD resources were demobilized from the incident. As a note, the LAFD UAS, or the Unmanned Aerial System, or a drone, played a significant part in this incident. The UAS was deployed twice for us, and what we did the first time is did some mapping for the fire to get the whole entire perimeter, and then also we used its forward-looking infrared radar, FLIR, to find out what the hot spots were so we could further cold trail and put the fire out and make sure we had a successful conclusion within the fire's perimeter. At its height, 134 LAFD firefighters and paramedics were assigned to this incident, and there were no civilian injuries, and we did have one minor injury to a Glendale fire captain that twisted his ankle, but he's okay. The specific cause of the fire is still under active investigation by LAFD arson section. Are there any questions at all? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to verbal report by the medical director on medical emergencies for the same time period.
Good morning, everyone. Fire Chief Commission. Dr. Mark Exton, EMS Bureau Commander and Medical Director. Significant EMS incidents since last meeting. On August 27th, what typically be a fairly routine incident for our paramedics in Battalion 13, Engine and Rescue 257, responded right before change of shift at 6:20 a.m. and found a 41-year-old woman who was having a severe asthma exacerbation, had gone into respiratory arrest, and was near cardiac arrest. And the assessment engine and paramedic rescue were able to successfully manage this patient's airway, get her resuscitated, and delivered to the hospital breathing on her own. So Probably not particularly memorable for one of the busiest stations in the country, but a great save of a fairly young woman. We had an incident on August 29th down in the harbor, a cliff rescue. A 50-year-old woman, I'm not sure if she jumped or slipped on the rocks in San Pedro, this by the Korean Bell. We've had a number of incidents down there. I think this incident really underscores the all hazards approach and the resources that the LAFD brings to bear to rescue citizens in duress. We had obviously multiple resources from Battalion 6 in South Bureau, but also Rescue Helicopter 114 and our dive boats. And we're able to put paramedics on the ground, hoisted down from the helicopter with paramedic from the boat and Life Force 48. And we're able to initiate resuscitative measures of this woman who had fallen approximately 60 feet and was in extremely critical condition. They were able to package her, hoist her to the helicopter, fly her to Harbor UCLA, and support her basic life functions and support her airway to give her a chance at life before delivering her to the trauma center. And again, this complex rescue really underscores just how robust the department is to try to resuscitate and rescue an individual that we may take for granted that not every department has. And when you see the hurricane about to hit the East Coast and the devastation it wrought on the Bahamas, I think Angelino should take comfort in the heroism and the types of resources we have to effect a rescue. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have presentations today? We do. So we have a presentation today.
Good morning, Commissioners, Fire Chief Terrazas, City Attorney Ms. Iniguez, Eric Scott, Captain 2 and Public Information Officer. Today we are honoring 2 outstanding firefighter paramedics for their successful and skillfully saving the life of a 1-year-old boy that was choking. So at this point, we're honored to invite up these 2 members, firefighter paramedics, Matsukuza Matsura and Frank Bish. And we'll give you a little incident rundown. It took place in the morning at 6:30 on February 2nd of this year at a home in El Sereno. When Assessment Engine 15 arrived on scene, they found a panicked mother that was holding her precious 1-year-old baby boy, Zayden Medina, who had a partially obstructed airway, which she identified as being a rubber ball. While the firefighters on scene, they jumped into action. They strategically held Zayden in one arm with his face down. They started to initiate back blows to remove that foreign body from the baby's mouth. But despite their best intentions, they proved to be unsuccessful in doing so. Now, RA 47 and these 2 members came on scene. They took over the care of this dear young patient that was rapidly deteriorating. At this time, the color had completely left Zayden's face. He was now white, and what was originally a partially obstructed airway had become fully obstructed and with just agonal respirations. So fortunately, these 2 jumped into action. Firefighter Matsura carefully lied the patient supine on the gurney, elevated the patient's head, while firefighter Bish skillfully used what's called a laryngoscope to lift open the baby's mouth, to peer inside. And at that point, Matsura was able to visualize the obstruction. He then used another tool called McGill forceps, where they're able to reach into that baby's mouth and with surgical precision remove that foreign body, that round ball, from that baby's mouth. Now, baby Zayden was still unable to breathe, so they continued. They worked seamlessly. They immediately initiated rescue breaths via bag valve mask to start to breathe for the child. And fortunately, after less than 1 minute, he began spontaneous respirations on his own while being transported to the hospital. Now, I know many are wondering how that child is doing, so we are happy to state that EMS 2 visited the family on March 6th, and the patient was doing very well. But don't take my word for it. We're happy to have them here today, and we're going to invite inside Father Angel Medina and Mother Jessica LaRusso and their child to meet these members.
Zayden just awarded me a junior firefighter badge. Well, Masa and Frank, it must be exhilarating to see what your actions can do on scene of emergencies. Many times, most of the time, in fact, when we go on scene and we treat the patient and we transport to the hospital, we really don't know the outcome. We hope for the best, and then we become available for the next run. But every now and then, we get an incident where you see immediate changes, and time is of the essence when you have somebody choking, especially a 1-year-old child. There's added pressure, there's added stress, but they came through like the true professionals they are, did their job, and saved a life, literally saved Zayden's life. And it's my hope for Zayden that he grows up and becomes a firefighter paramedic for the Los Angeles Fire Department. I think that would make us all very proud. I think he agrees too. So I'd like to have Masa, would you like to come up to say a few words? You don't have to. No? Okay, Frank? I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Angel. I'm the father of Zayden, and I just want to say thank you. If it wasn't for them, my son wouldn't be here right now. And just appreciate everything you guys do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Pictures.
Right on, Frank. Congratulations again. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Dude, I was expecting you to say a few words.
I don't want to, be too much.
E. 5C, public comment, public comment, public comment, public comment. Okay, all right. Okay, so consent agenda items.
Okay. Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to have just make comments on 19-098.
That is which item?
4D.
Item D, 4D.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I got him. Adopt the recommendations. Move to adopt the recommendations for items 4A, B, C, E, F, and G.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So 4D is a consent agenda item, which we're hearing. It's a report by the department on the quarterly fire department diversity reports.
Yeah, I would. I just wanted to. When do we get the drop report to go? Because looking at the numbers we have now, knowing how many are leaving, I don't know when that report comes. But my other comment was that I wanted to know what do we do? Like in Captain 2's, there's only one female Captain 2. Do we go into the department? I mean, and does the department reach out and try to find the little stars that need to be shined and polished off and invited to be Captain 2s? Because I think that there should be somehow more women that would want to go in if we encourage them. Because I talk to firefighters sometimes who you say, oh, yeah, you need to take that test. You really need to move up. Well, they kind of like, but then sometimes they eventually do. So I was just wondering, do we have a process for reaching out, doing outreach to recruit, to identify leadership and pushing it ahead?
Commissioner, very good question. We have a process where we post all promotional opportunities, all special duty assignments, and we leave it to the membership to put in their name to be considered. And then when we take those names, we conduct interviews, and then we score the interviews, and then we pick the person with the highest interview score. That's the formal mentoring. The informal mentoring happens all the time. When I see somebody or any of my officers see somebody with the potential for future growth, we encourage them to pursue these opportunities. The vast majority of our people prefer to work in the fire station in the field on platoon duty. And that's the challenge that we have to overcome because we need them to think long term. And I think the department benefits when we identify those people with potential to take the next step and have more influence on the department. So we do have informal and an informal and a formal way to encourage our people to continue to promote.
Okay, it just looks like there's a real need there because you can't become a battalion chief or an assistant chief or a deputy chief without going through the captain too, or can you?
You have to be a captain before you promote to the chief officer ranks.
Yeah, and I see we need more help there too. So whatever we can do to help identify some of those women or other people who are shining stars, who are just, sometimes they just need a little boost. So it may not just be females, but other people also who are in the department who demonstrate some leadership ability, but it just seems very obvious when I look at only one captain too. And so it's like we wouldn't have very many people that would be promoting ahead out of there, and we do need to have women promote at the top as well. So I just wanted to make a comment on that report.
I agree.
And when do we get the drop report?
That comes periodically from personnel. It's not a regular cycle.
Okay.
I get it
Maybe
about
we could get it
3 or 4
soon
times a year.
so that we can compare the two.
Okay, we can do that.
I think we get it like twice a year to the
Does anybody know the frequency of the drop report? Laura?
last Chief Everett. Oh,
Good morning. Laura Triner, Senior Personnel Analyst, Personnel Services
you
Section.
know.
Yes, the drop report, we have a delay on that. There have been some technical difficulties on the department side. We've kind of transitioned to more computerized calculation of those numbers, and there was a delay there regarding that. There was also a delay on the other side from pensions because they were changing their computerized system as well. So we will get that to you as soon as we can.
Okay. Anything more?
Oh, really quick. Just looking at this. Have we ever had a female helicopter pilot?
I do not believe we have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know is it the same process for mentoring them as well?
Same process, and they have to. We've changed recently. We've adopted the LAPD's flight school, but you have to interview. You have to put in your name for consideration, pass an interview, get selected, then go to the school. And that's not a guarantee that you'll graduate through the school, but if you do, you go on to the next step.
We just got an African American, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yes. Was that the first African American?
No.
No. One. Okay. One African American. Yeah. But have we had any females go through the school? Do you know?
I don't think so. I think the closest we had somebody who came out of the military was a helicopter pilot, but did not have a desire to fly our helicopters. That's a very unique job specification, and to my knowledge, I don't know of any female who's expressed an interest to be part of that yet.
Yet. Cool. Thanks.
I just wanted to remind whoever's listening who does this drop report that it was also supposed to be by ethnicities next time we get it. When do we get it? I think the last time it was. But since they have new computer equipment, I'm sure it's going to be very much so up to date.
Yes, we are aware of that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, move to adopt the recommendation for item 4D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, moving on to the regular agenda items, 5A is report by the department on the LAFD fleet metrics.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief
morning.
Terrazas, Council, Isela. I'm Wade White, Assistant Chief with the Supply and Maintenance Division. Here to give you a report on the status of the fleet, current metrics. Y'all have the board report in front of you with our charts. We're doing very well. We've received very good support from you as far as staffing and also with budget, allowing us to purchase additional apparatus, getting the mechanics in place, craft workers, and technicians to do the work that's necessary. If you take a look at page 2, our fleet condition scores, this is what guides me in my budget development annually when I put together a MICLA request. And we were approved for 1920 to purchase 4 aerial ladder trucks, 4 triples, and 5 command vehicles, as well as 15 ambulances. So that assists in my challenge in getting the fleet replaced. We still have a significant number of the fleet that is behind as far as replacement, and that's an indication of the economic downturn several years ago, and it'll take several years, probably a decade or so, to catch up at this pace. But we have excellent technicians that are keeping our apparatus in place and keeping tabs on NFPA and all the standards, and we're making sure our apparatus are safe and effective in doing their job. I currently have 8 engines under construction in Wisconsin at Pierce, and 12 trucks are under construction. So those vehicles will take a pretty good chunk out of this fleet as far as replacement goes. If you take a look at page 3, gives you an indication of our out-of-service rate. Every day we develop a daily progress report It tells me to where to put staffing, how to utilize overtime, where is the fleet, where do I need to focus as far as possibly blitzing various portions of the fleet. And going into this weekend, we did very well as far as reserves being available. Our truck fleet is looking good. Our triple fleet is looking good as far as reserves, and we're doing very well as far as the command vehicles go. We're not out of the woods. We still have a lot of work to do. Our staffing levels, we're down to roughly 7 technicians. We have 1 heavy-duty mechanic vacancy. We have 1 tool room worker vacancy, 2 helpers, and 2 GAs, garage attendants. So we're doing very well with the higher level technicians, the heavy duty equipment mechanics. We're doing very well as far as that goes. I've submitted the MICLA budget for 2021. It's fairly robust, and we'll do what needs to be done to par it down to stay within the budget. That concludes my report. Any questions?
I just have one. Why do you think that the lower level tech jobs are more difficult to keep filled?
We're promoting people.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, we're developing and they're promoting out.
So do you have a list that you pull from? Or
Yes, ma'am.
so you have people that are coming in, it's a matter of processing them?
Correct. Yes. So we'll develop them. Our shop is very in demand as far as city facilities, and we have garage attendants, mechanical helpers that will learn the positions, the higher positions, and then and we encourage them to promote.
Oh, that's very good.
And hopefully we can promote within. If not, then they go to another city department.
We used to have,
That's very good. Thank you very much for the work that you guys do there.
No, thank you.
we used to have a problem where people used to leave LAFD to go to DWP.
No, we don't see that too often. No, we actually had 1 member who came back from DWP.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Our rigs are more exciting.
Yes, they are. Pretty clean, too.
Thanks for the report. A couple of questions. One on the hiring, just something to think about as we start to phase in our train to hire stuff on the sworn side. We may have cadets coming through who get through partially through the cadet program, and maybe they realize at that point that firefighting or paramedic job isn't for them, but they still love the service. That could be a really interesting pool to look at for your own sort of train to hire version with I don't know if student worker is the right character, but apprenticeship program. So I know it's work to figure that out, but it's something I just sort of put out there as like an idea to think about of potentially recruiting out of our cadet pools for those who may not be on a pathway into sworn service.
We actually have several who have gone through our student worker program and then became firefighters. Mm-hmm. And then we have a couple that were in the firefighter program who are now working as technicians at the shops.
That's great.
We've also utilized the local target-based hiring and hired a couple of people through that process.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's just maybe worth a conversation with the youth services folks over there to see. They may have some ideas on how to smooth that path for you that
Yes,
might
sir.
Build some efficiency for you.
Yes, sir.
So a couple questions. So on the vehicle down summary, on page 3. So that, just so I understand it, it means that when you say 7-year average number of frontline vehicles to reserve, that means you're putting average 35 new reserves into service? Is that what that means?
The 7-year average out-of-service reserves, we base our out-of-service rate on how many reserves we have in place. So we stay at a constant number as far as the total number of reserves. Mm-hmm. And when I see that I've got 5 reserves left in my daily progress report, it tells me that I'm getting seriously close into the arena of not having a vehicle to put into a fire station.
Okay.
So what we're seeing here is we're seeing, as far as the out of service count, the available reserves, we're seeing an uptick, a more available resource as far as the reserves go within that 7-year average.
I see. So you're catching up. Maybe a year or two ago, within the last 18 months, there was a moment there where we were getting a little low on reserves. So that shows that we're managing the fleet better and
Correct.
having more availability.
We were down to, I'd say 4 years ago, we were down to, in triples and trucks, about 0 as far as reserves.
That's not many.
No. So we were doing, going into a weekend or a long weekend like the last one we went through, we would blitz that fleet, get 1 or 2 reserves in place because we knew we might lose 1 or 2 over the weekend.
I see. Okay.
So we were just in the crisis mode of management. But now with having more reserves available, it's getting a little bit more comfortable.
That's good. On the out-of-service days in shop, are the number of days in shop higher? Why are they so much higher for Central and Valley? And that's not sort of proportional, or is it proportional to? It doesn't seem to match up to sort of numbers of vehicles. It seems to be unrelated to that.
It's really not related to the various areas. What the geographic bureaus have asked for is just basically what's the out-of-service count in their bureaus, but it's not relative to anything as specific to apparatus or to anything in particular. In Valley Bureau, you do have a larger area. You've got six battalions out there, so you're going to see a significantly higher number of out-of-service vehicles there.
But the number of days in shop shouldn't, like that's how fast we're turning stuff around and pushing them back out, right?
Correct.
So for the Valley, does that mean that we need more people assigned to the Valley, or does it mean that they're just running a little slower, or the vehicles there are in more need, or?
It's not that isn't specific to the Valley either. It's not specific to the Valley shop or either or the downtown shop. It's specific to the entire fleet. This doesn't break it down as to whether it was an accident, a blown engine, or maybe we might have had a broken frame, or for example, and those jobs that are going to take less days in the shop are going to impact that number. But it's really, you're talking 1,200 vehicles. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say how that's going to impact it based on the personality of the repair.
Got it. I mean, it would be interesting to understand. I mean, I guess Central Bureau all runs through the same place as South Bureau and West Bureau, right? I mean, those vehicles all end up at central shops there?
We split them between the Valley shop and the downtown shop.
I see.
So we'll take a look at the workload every day or plot it out over the week, and then we'll send those vehicles where we have the the craft workers that can do the work.
And when you see longer days in shops, is that related typically to because there's a part we're waiting on, or is that usually the issue?
Could be a part, yes. It could be an item that needs to be built. It could be auto body repair that needs to be done, painting. So everything's been looped into that category. I can break it down further with our vehicle maintenance system.
I'm just interested in generalities. So a while ago, there seemed like there was an issue with our ability to get parts due to a billing issue that was not entirely in our control, as I recall. Has that gotten any better, or are we still?
We meet every other week with GSD upper management and discuss the auto parts situation. So we've brought Chief Rideout, myself, our equipment superintendent, all together with GSD higher level, and worked out some of these challenges that we face between the two organizations.
Does that seem to be on a path towards a better?
We're seeing some progression in some others areas, and some are staying a bit stagnant. But we got good communication going on, good collaboration, and I'm optimistic that we're going to get through this.
Okay. Yeah, it's. I'm sure. I don't need to tell you the frustration of having a resource sitting there that could be out in the field because we're just waiting for money to change hands.
Even more frustrating for a mechanic that's looking for a part to
Sure,
get
yeah.
that thing back on the road. So yes, sir.
Okay. Great. I'm curious on. So on the rescues, I presume those have more out of service time because they're just more heavily used. Is that
The duty
right?
cycle is severe. We're doing very well with the fleet that we put in place. The Rams are holding up very well.
That's good.
It's a good product, and we're in a mode now. We put the first ones in service back in 2011, so we're getting to the point where we're starting to put those Rams into reserve status.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting close to getting every Ford out of the fleet, which was causing us a big issue.
Yeah.
But this vehicle, this platform's doing us very well.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been good. Great. This last question on I know the boats are a specialized resource.
Yes, sir.
How do those figure into kind of how you calculate your? Because I know that those are when you need to do something like there's nothing cheap about it.
No, there's not.
So. How do you sequence them into how you think about these things?
Those would be considered an outlier. So we put the 5 boats in basically their own category. In the grand scheme of things, they'll come into the master plan, but we keep them out on their own. They're on a haul-out schedule, which we've got 4 of the 5 back on track. The 5th one is out right now, being worked on. So once we get Fireboat 2 hauled out and back in a good condition, we'll stay on that 2 to 3 year cycle of haul out.
Okay.
And the repair cost should be significantly lower because we'll just be doing paint as opposed to
replacing entire sections of rusted out boat.
Right.
Good.
Right.
Okay. Great. I appreciate the work you guys have done. It's great to see the attention to the data here. I'm sure that hopefully that's been helpful as that system's come online with the management of the fleet and making these work better for you.
Yes, sir. It has been. Yeah, any data we can, or the system we can use for data is very helpful for us.
Okay, and it seems like given if I'm reading this right, your labor available seems to exceed, at this point, we seem to have a little bit of capacity in there based on what you're projecting for the requirements, so that's a good thing, presumably,
That's
right?
a good thing. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the detailed report, Chief.
Chief, are those members of your department back there?
I have a guy Patton out here. He's with the fleet.
But the guys in the back are not from the shop.
No,
Okay.
they're not mine. I'll take them though.
We're hiring. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to adopt the recommendation for item 5A.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
So 5B is report by the department on the upgrade assessment resources department-wide.
Hello again, Commissioners. Dr. Mark Eckstein, EMS Bureau Commander. This is a report on our status of the department for upgrading resources to paramedic assessment resources. As you can see in your report, we've been successful in carefully planning our expansion of our ALS resources. Since August of 2017, we've added 4 assessment resources. Again, this is an upgrade of a basic life support fire company to assessment level status, which is staffed by 1 paramedic, and the rest of the members are firefighter EMTs. Engine 1, Engine 61, Engine 93, and Engine 38. These particular BLS engine companies were selected with a careful review of and analysis of the data. The primary variable that led us to select these resources for upgrade were based on those districts that had the longest response times for ALS when the paramedic rescue in that station was out. We call that the ALS cross-in rate. So those were selected based upon needs of the community, paramedic resources, and that leaves us currently with 20 out of 106 fire stations that remain that are non-rotational. Our goal is to make every fire station in the department rotational, and we're obviously going to carefully measure how quickly we expand the number of assessment resources, being very mindful of the number of paramedic vacancies. as everyone here is very well aware of. If we overexpand too quickly, we only augment the number of our vacancy rate, which has an adverse impact on morale. Vacancies, details, assigned hires, so we want to be very careful about that. We also want to balance the impact by adding an assessment resource, which is a net increase of 3 paramedic positions at a fire station versus the benefit to the community in our deployment model of adding a paramedic rescue or upgrading a BLS rescue to paramedic, which is a net increase of 6 paramedics. So we're looking at the metrics. We're metric driven, looking at response times for ALS incidents, measuring factored in or mitigating factor with the number of paramedic vacancies. And again, I think we're making excellent progress to ultimately make every fire station in the department fully rotational. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Well, I know Commissioner Glazier is going to have some questions, but I was hoping that you would explain what you mean by, I mean, I think I know, but I want all the commissioners to understand what you mean by making them all rotational.
Excellent question. So, as you know, almost all of our firefighter paramedics now are dual function, and I think everyone here would agree that's important for morale and for our members' ability to maintain proficiency in fire suppression skills and in paramedic skills on the EMS side, to be able to rotate from an ambulance or paramedic ambulance to an assessment company. We know the workload and the call load and transport level when a paramedic only works on a paramedic rescue ambulance is very, very difficult. And it also becomes a safety factor if that paramedic rarely works on a fire company when he or she has to use their fire suppression skills and their life or life of one of their colleagues or a civilian is on the line. So a rotational house means that that paramedic can rotate between a paramedic rescue ambulance and an assessment light force, which is the truck company, or an assessment engine.
Okay. So this means that they don't become super specialized because they're not always on the on an ambulance. They're not always just, you know, on an engine company.
Well, I think super specialized almost may have a negative connotation. I think is part of the challenge and part of one of the great attributes of our department that our paramedics are dual function. So when we respond to any type of incident, being all hazard, like the cliff rescue I mentioned before, or a structure fire, we had a structure fire in 46 was first in about 2 weeks ago with several patients, including a 17-year-old in cardiac arrest. Because our paramedics are dual function, they're able to enter what's known as the IDLH, or immediate danger to life and health area, on the fire ground with self-contained breathing apparatus, knowing the fire ground operations, be able to operate safely. So when the company's doing fire attack, finds a victim, they're able to bring them out, and paramedics can immediately initiate life-sustaining measures, as opposed to a single-function paramedic who can't enter the IDLH. The incident commander may opt to use firefighter paramedics for any different tasks on the fire ground. So I think it's good for morale, it's good for their safety, it's good for longevity on their and also for career enhancement. Mm-hmm. I think we've had members on the department who were single-function paramedics who were able to promote to captain, but I think it's incredibly difficult to master the didactic information knowledge to pass the exam as a Captain 1, because a lot of that is fire ground operations if he or she hasn't actually been on the fire ground in real life on a truck or engine company. So I think the dual function paramedics bring a lot to bear in terms of the individual job satisfaction, of opportunity for career advancement, and also be able to save lives. So our goal to make every station rotational serves all those purposes. And obviously, as you allude to, President Ibarra, it is incumbent on our members to try to maintain proficiency both for their paramedic skills and the fire suppression skills, which is very, very difficult. Many of our fire stations are extremely busy, so they get able to utilize those resources on a daily basis, or if not on the real fire ground, on drills. And I think the other benefit is when the firefighters are dual function, they're able to participate in drills and become more of a team at the fire station. And I think it's built a very robust department in terms of being able to bring all our resources to bear, whether it's a fire incident, EMS incident, or what more commonly is there's a EMS component to almost everything we do.
I'm happy to hear that this is taking place, because a few years ago that was the biggest concern that was raised to me when I would visit fire stations, or if I met them at a sandwich shop or the hospital. They would say that they wanted to be firefighters as well as paramedics. So this is really great, and I'm glad to see you moving in that direction, because I know that will please the members of the fire department.
I mean, to be clear, it always will be a challenge and has been a challenge to maintain that proficiency on both sides of suppression and EMS. And that's where we're trying to incorporate the EMS component into what traditionally fire-based drills, and also augmenting our EMS training component in the field.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Okay, thanks. So just to be clear, in the last 6 years, how many additional rotational assignments? Are these the first 4 in the last 6 years that we've added?
I believe so, yes. This is since August 2017. As you know, with the...
right, prior to that, we didn't have any staffing, so...
Right, and 2 years ago, we were pushing 100 paramedic vacancies in the field, which made their lives very, very difficult with details and assigned hires.
Yeah.
As you see in your report, right now, our current vacancy rate and our projection going for the next 12 months is very, very good. It's between 25 and 30 vacancies. We share this data with the fire chief on a monthly basis. To, again, be very mindful of the fact we don't want the paramedic vacancy rate to go way above 30. There are members who want opportunities for overtime out there, but we want to really minimize details and assigned hires. When I mention details, it's when paramedics are assigned to their assessment companies, but they're detailed off from the assessment company to a vacancy in the paramedic ambulance, which removes them from their station to where they're assigned, and also is a huge adverse impact on morale.
So I'm not sure if you can answer this or somebody else needs to, but what would the vacancy rate, what is sort of the vacancy rate that you look for to say I can add 4 more rotational positions, which is to say 12 more paramedic needs there? So what number do you look for there to be able to say, yeah, we could do that next year? So
there's no magic number, but in careful discussion with the fire chief and Chief Poyer and other command staff members of the department, we try to find that sweet spot, as it were. I don't think there's no accepted cutoff for how many vacancies we should have. But again, a new assessment resource is 3 additional paramedics. The paramedic rescue is 6. As I mentioned, it's metric driven. So while we want to make every house rotational, the selection of which houses is very, very important. I think we learned from our mistakes in the past. I think last decade, I think perhaps we overexpanded the number of assessment companies, and that really significantly increased our paramedic vacancy rate. And I think it made the lives of our paramedic members extremely difficult with those details and assigned hires. So to answer your question, I don't have a specific number, but this is careful discussion with the fire chief and command staff to say what is the benefit of make another house rotational versus exacerbating the number of vacancies. We also look at the number of paramedics on long-term details. As you know, we've been very successful creating new innovative resources, such as fast response vehicles, APRUs, SR sober unit, and the like, and cycle teams at the airport. So those places paramedics on minimum of 12-month details, which increases vacancies in the fire stations. We've been successful in sending 45 of our firefighters to paramedic school per year, and they have a pass rate of over 90%. We also look at paramedics coming in the front door, which is fire chief selecting recruits who already possess a paramedic license. We can't use those individuals on paramedic assignments until 18 months after they complete the tower. But we look at all those metrics and determine what would be the appropriate time to add additional assessment companies.
I could add on to that a little bit as to how we decide when to expand. It's multiple factors. We look at the report, like the doctor said, we get it monthly in terms of the number of paramedic vacancies. We're hovering around 25 to 30 right now, I believe. But we look at the number of paramedics retiring, the number of paramedics who are on promotional list. We're going to lose, I think, 10 paramedics in October when we promote inspectors. Then we look at how many are in the paramedic school, how many are going to become available that we hired in the hiring process. We can't put them on an ambulance right away. They have to serve their time 18 months in the field before we put them on an ambulance. So we look at all those factors, and then we make a decision to add. I would anticipate our pace will be something like it's been the last year, 3 to 4 per year.
Didn't we change? I thought it changed to 12 months out of the tower.
It's gone back and forth from 12 months to 18 months. We pushed it back to 12 months recently because
Right.
I saw the paramedic vacancy starting to escalate.
Right.
So by pushing it back to 12 months, we got more paramedics into paramedic spots.
Okay.
So that's our rule that we established.
Yes.
Oh, so if they're already paramedics, 12 months seems reasonable.
Yeah, we would like to give them 18 months, and it goes to what Dr. Eckstein said earlier, is to let them develop their fire suppression skills. But when we get into a situation where we see the paramedic vacancy starting to escalate, I made the decision, let's move them back to the 12 months so we could fill spots immediately. We'll always look at that. I think it's not a definite 12 months all the time. When we can, and we can have that luxury, we'll extend it to 18 months before we put them on a paramedic rescue.
So if we standard carry 25 to 30 vacancies, let's say, every year, and we're pushing 45 through per year, we've been pushing 45 through per year, and the last 2 years, though, we're still seeing around a 25 to 30 paramedic vacancy rate, which kind of goes up. You know, we see spikes because we have promotions. Every time we promote, we have a bunch of paramedics promote. I'm just curious on what the plan is. If you're going to do 3 to 4 per year, where are you going to pull 60 paramedics out of for the next 5 years if we're running with that kind of vacancy rate? What's the recruitment plan?
Well, it's going to be what we've been using all along to get to this point. 5 years ago, when I was put in this position, we had significant number of vacancies, and we averaged about 15 paramedics per recruit class. And then we'd have to look at how many paramedics are going to promote. Sometimes this is the biggest number of paramedics that I can recall in the last 5 years that we've taken in one promotional month. So to answer your question, we're going to have to evaluate it every time we look at the vacancy rate. When I get that monthly report, then I project how many people are going to graduate, how many people are going to promote, how many people are retiring, and then make a decision at that point.
Do you know what the percentage is? You might know of firefighter paramedics compared to
In the department.
in the department. Yeah,
It's a
What is-
third.
It's 1/3.
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to increase it?
Well, so I mean, all I would suggest is we have enough data here to have a sense of. I mean, when we're going to be running promotions, and we have a sense of how many paramedics promote. We should be able to project how many paramedics we need over the course of the next 5 years. And if you're going to add 60 medics into the department while maintaining a vacancy rate of 25 to 30, I mean, adding 4 over the course of the last year and a half is great. But there's not actually a plan here. This is just saying we'd like to, but we have to look at our vacancy rate. And if the past vacancy rate is any indication, even pushing 45 firefighters into paramedic school every year, and even with people coming through the drill tower, the fact is that our paramedics tend to promote as a group faster than non-paramedics. And we can spend all day debating why that's the case, but that is what happens. So I guess my big question is pushing 45 firefighters into paramedic school going to get us there? And from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like it is. We're always going to have promotions. We're always going to have people retiring. And if that's not the case, then what are our options if 45 pushing through paramedic school is not enough? And that's really what I'm curious about, is how do we get there in 6 years knowing that our numbers are what they are?
I think if it was a consistent number that was promoting or retiring, I would agree with you. We could have a consistent plan to address that. But the numbers don't stay the same.
Well, we know who's going to retire. That's why we have a drop program. I mean, the drop program tells us how many are retiring, and we know how many we're going to promote. And you could probably...
No, we don't. We don't know until they take the test till they come out on the list, and then we see how many vacancies are in that rank.
Sure. But just looking at anticipated retirements, that'll tell you how many promotions we're going to do. And then if you look at a historic rate of how many paramedics are typically promoting into those classes, I mean, you've got like a bunch of statisticians back there on fire stat. They could probably give you a over-under on this to give you a sense of what it's going to look like. But my hunch is that, and it seems to be borne out based on, if I'm just reading between the lines, of saying, well, we want to do it, but we got to look at the vacancy rate, is that we have very little confidence that we're going to have the numbers of paramedics we need to get to 3 to 4 per year consistently over the course, or 3 to 4 new assessment positions, was 12 new paramedics per year on any sort of consistent basis over the next 5 or 6 years. So I wouldn't be comfortable going back to when I talk to people in the field and saying, hey, this is coming, wait for it, it's going to be here in the next 5 years, because that's probably not true unless we change something that we're doing.
I would be comfortable committing to 3 to 4 rotational fire stations each calendar year. Because we've caught up with our vacancies, we're going to have variations on the number that are going to get promoted, the number that are going to get retired. I think we can do 3 to 4. The last year, I think, are indicative of the next few years. So I don't think we should think otherwise right now.
If I may add, I used the word push into paramedic school. I don't know if that was deliberate, but I want to be very, very clear. Our firefighters volunteer to go to paramedic school, which is not the same as some of the sister agencies in the county or the region. And my entire career here with the fire department, I've been adamantly opposed to drafting firefighters to go to paramedic school. It's very, very difficult. It's not for everybody. Right. It's a different skill set. And we've had challenges filling those 45 seats on an annual basis. So UCLA has offered to accommodate us with additional seats, and we would have to obviously have additional funding to cover tuition and the hire behind. But it's been challenging to get 45 firefighters to want to go to paramedic school. So there are a lot of competing variables. But I think one of the attributes is we want our firefighters to willingly go to paramedic school, because that's what they want to pursue in terms of their career. And I think we want them to go willingly and feel it's the right career choice and never have to draft them. So we want to make the working environment such that firefighters will want to go to paramedic school for the right reasons. When the vacancy rate increases, the recruitment becomes exceedingly difficult because the firefighters see the paramedics getting throttled out there and being assigned, hired, and detailed. So it really is a catch-22. So when the working conditions are better for our paramedics, it's easier to recruit our firefighters to go to paramedic school.
So what incentives do we have for them? I mean, I assume we have some bonus, right?
Correct. There's a paramedic bonus. As you mentioned, they particularly when all but 20 fire stations are rotational, they get your bonus, whether on the assessment engine or the paramedic ambulance. They get to do a little of everything. And the firefighter EMT on the other side of the fire engines going on the same calls doesn't make the same salary, doesn't get the paramedic bonus. The bulk of our calls, overwhelming majority of our calls are EMS in nature. I think it's frustrating for a lot of firefighters working on EMT ambulances because there's not much they can do to render aid to patients. That amazing save that was highlighted today with that 1-year-old, I could tell you unequivocally as an EMS physician, without the paramedics having a laryngoscope and a McGill forceps and the skills to use them, that 1-year-old would be dead or severely brain damaged right now. And I think EMTs on that response see that and say, I want to be able to save that life. And if Rescue 47 wasn't available, we would have a very different outcome. So there's multiple catalysts but we have to create an environment where our firefighters see the value in terms of service to the community and ability to promote to want to go to paramedic school. And then more houses that are rotational is important, but also the need to have the proper number of paramedic ambulances for transport is important, because if we have all assessment companies and not enough paramedic ambulances, the system breaks down as well. That's where I mentioned the metrics. There are multiple variables we have to measure. Again, an additional paramedic ambulance is 6 additional paramedics. So we have to look at all those factors and make recommendations to the fire chief on how to proceed very, very carefully.
And what are the, I mean, and just to kind of piggyback on your question, is you said you want to create, this environment where this looks attractive. Like, what exactly has the department done to do that? I don't know. So, I mean, it looks like this is we're in need of this, So, what does the department do besides? I think it's 17% increase in pay.
Bonus?
That's correct.
Bonus, yeah, which is great. But what else, like culturally, do we do to incentivize people to want to do this? Do you know?
Well, I think changing culture is very, very difficult.
For sure.
I think there's a number of things. As Commissioner Glazier correctly pointed out, paramedics have disproportionately been able to succeed in promotion. So the more officers we have in the field who are paramedics, I think the culture has really changed very, very quickly, where paramedics are not thought of as second-class citizens or less than, because they're part of the team. They're on the fire ground. They promoted to all ranks. Half our command staff are paramedics. Semantics, but I think importantly, we added a paramedic rocker to the uniform. We'd want to say being a paramedic is important, and it's something that should be lauded. Hopefully, being a paramedic is an important factor for promotion.
Right.
So I think it's something we can't change overnight. I think Chief Terrazas' leadership has been successful to really push the needle very, very quickly. If you look at the number of captains in the field, actually every rank in the last 5 years of promotions, the people who are paramedics, it's unprecedented. And who better to change the culture at the fire station than the station commander, who him or herself is a paramedic.
Right, right.
I have you may not have this information, but someone in the bureau could get back to me on it. They could actually. I'd like to have it emailed actually, but how many of the paramedic assessment engines and the paramedic assessment light forces and of the 20 stations that are non-rotational are in council districts 8, 9, and 10?
We could certainly give you a breakdown or give you a map showing that data. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we'd be happy to provide that.
But I would like that information.
I certainly I mentioned metric driven. So we, for example, Battalion 13, which is our busiest battalion, every station is rotational because of the need based on the number of EMS calls. The acuity is exceedingly high, and the workload is very, very challenging. So our busiest battalions tend to be the priority for upgrading companies to assessment.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that information.
So we're not filling the 45 spots that we want to fill. First of all, I completely agree with you. We should never be drafting people into a paramedic position. It is far too important of a position to make somebody who doesn't want to do it. And we're spending a lot of money on pushing somebody through paramedic school. So, I mean, absolutely right. We do not want to be drafting people. If we can't get 45 medics through and we can't crack below this sort of 25 to 30 paramedic vacancy rate doing that, my question remains is, if that's not going to get us there, what will? And this remains, I mean, look, Chief Bamatri was the one who said we were going to be all rotational by like 1990. So we've been working on this.
90, that would be wrong.
We've been working on this for a little while, right? And have yet to get there. So the root of my skepticism is that we've been at this for a very long time, and we bump up against this barrier every year of, do we have the bodies to fill the spots? And I think your point is well taken of, if you just add spots and you don't have bodies to fill them, that exacerbates the problem, right? So I'm not questioning that logic, right, of saying we should, we should not be making working conditions worse for our members by saying we're going to add spots, because then the end doesn't serve the, or you don't have the means to serve the end in that case, and. So I want to be clear. That's not what I'm suggesting here. What I'm saying is that we have the data to tell us roughly how many vacancies we would need to fill, how many new paramedics we would need on average, right, every year to understand how many new paramedics we would need to be putting into the system to get to the ability to add 4 rotational companies per year, which is a total of 60 headcount of paramedics over the course of the next 5 years. And again, without seeing the data, my hunch is that our current rate of paramedic infusion into our department is not going to get us there. So if it's not going to get us there, then we're in this place as a department where we can't just do things the way we've always done them. We actually are going to have to make some hard choices about how to get there. And so my question remains, what are the choices that we can make to get there if we don't have, if 45 paramedics coming to paramedic school and not drafting, right? Again, all right decisions, aren't going to get us there. And that's what I want to know, because what I see here is simply saying, here's what it is, and here's what we've done, but I don't see any plan to get there with any contingencies.
Okay, so I feel like we've kind of exhausted this conversation. So
Nope, I don't think we have. I'm just interested in the answer to that question.
I feel like you've asked this 5 times, and we've kind of talked about it. We understand it's a long-standing problem in the department. So, are we going to fix it in the next 5 minutes?
I'm asking for what the contingency plan is.
Okay, I'll have the fire chief address that.
Great.
Very good.
Okay, we'll create a plan. I agree. It's a more in-depth, longer discussion, but I believe we're on the right path. We're metric-driven. We're not forcing people. It's in paramedic school. We don't need 60 at once. We need about 12 per year, 12 to 15. And we've proven in the last year we can do that. And I'm committed that we can do that in the future.
I look forward to seeing the plan. I will just end by saying that Dr. X made a lot of points that I think are really important to our members, which is it's hard to be a Captain 1 without the dual function experience. We have too many members in this department who do not have opportunities to practice their firefighting skills in a department where they're supposed to be rotational. And so they are unable then to promote, which is their right to do so, because they cannot get the experience to do that. It is not fair to them. I frequently hear about job satisfaction issues because they are unable to practice their firefighting skills. And I frequently hear about people because they are detailed, because we have vacancies, so they're not able to participate in drills. So we are creating our own safety issues by not allowing our members to rotate, and this is something that is critically important, I believe, to our department. So I look forward to hearing what the contingency plan is so that we can try to rectify this in the next 5 years. Thanks.
And thank you, Dr. Eckstein. This is a tough problem. You've been dealing with it for a very long time. So
And
we
thank you for
appreciate-
your creativity and the work
Yes.
that you do.
Yes,
and for
thank
your
you.
effort on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very
Chief.
much.
All right.
Move to receive and file item 5B.
Okay, so 5, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5C is report by the department on the proposed 2020 fire code.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, General Counsel. Good morning. My name is Chad Richardson. I'm the legal unit commander and the fire code chairperson. What I'm speaking on behalf of today is the presenting of the proposed 2020 Los Angeles Fire Code. The Los Angeles Fire Code is on a 3-year cycle, and we are looking to repeat that process from the current enacted 2017 Los Angeles Fire Code. We are required to have the City Council to instruct the City Attorney to draft an ordinance to Los Angeles Municipal Code, Chapter 5, Article 7, to replace the current Los Angeles Fire Code and to adopt a proposed Los Angeles Fire Code amendment package for the 2020, which is based on the 2019 California Fire Code, which is based on the 2018 International Fire Code. So it all has a trickle-down effect, and we're at the point now where our fire code will be enacted for 2020. This will go into effect January 1st, 2020. We are recommending that the board direct the commission executive assistant to transmit this report to the City Council and Mayor for consideration and approval. Subject to the approval, the City Council and Mayor request the City Council to instruct the attorney to draft an ordinance to the Los Angeles Municipal Code, Chapter 5, Article 7, and replace the current Los Angeles Fire Code in its amendment package. We don't anticipate any changes that have not already been vetted through both the California Fire Code and International Fire Code, and it is a part of the development process that we are filling, and we are also filling a critical need to provide additional public safety regulations beyond both the IFC and CFC regarding general fire precautions and the maintenance of the fire protection systems for hazards unique to the Southern California and City of Los Angeles. That is it for my report. Do I have any questions?
So I guess my only question is, because it comes back to us, right? Once
That's
it gets
correct.
drafted?
That's correct.
Okay, so then I think it's important to see what important changes there's going to be to the fire code. If there's anything really big or if, there are technical changes, it's just some brief summary so that we understand that, because you're also going to have like a new ordinance, which
That's
is
correct.
great. But it's sometimes easier if you do a summary of what.
And we don't know those changes yet.
Okay.
Once we draft the ordinance, we're asking you to enact the general counsel to provide this ordinance. In that ordinance, we'll be able to then take a summary of all the changes that we are seeing and whether or not we've adopted them as is or we're amending them. We just received the 2019 California Fire Code, and we are now vetting that through and making those changes, and we will work with general counsel to propose that ordinance and what those changes will be within that.
Okay, so by law, though, we're required to adopt whatever California has
That's
adopted,
correct.
right?
We can adopt or amend it.
So procedurally, we have to take this step before
That is
council
correct.
adopts it, even though we would like to see, what new additions or changes.
And we're working through that just as of a couple weeks ago.
Okay, all right.
And will this be ready by 2020?
That is our plan. Yes, ma'am.
Because
We are working hard
I know
to get there.
the speed of the city
Yes.
and their departments, and I was quite.
It is a tremendous amount of work, but we have an entire work group that works through this from various units and sections within the Fire Prevention Bureau, and we're taking this and breaking this apart and coming up with it, and I'm just steering the ship for that.
Got it.
A quick question. So on the fire prevention side, when we talked about false alarms, unwanted alarms, a couple times we've talked about the idea of upgrading the code for waterproofing around fire alarms so that they would not trigger quite so many false alarms or unwanted alarms during a rain event. Are you still looking at that as far as changes to fire code?
I know that Chief Fields is working diligently on the unwanted alarm program, and I'm working hand in hand with them. My unit actually walks through every one of the unwanted alarms that gets referred to our unit, and it's a very convoluted process, right? And it's a lot of moving pieces that really will direct on what is creating that unwanted alarm. The waterproofing is just one step to a very multifaceted issue. So when we get this new California Fire Code, we will review it to see if there are any changes within that, and then we can always add or amend to that code to adopt into the 2020 Fire Code. So we'll look at that for sure.
Great, yes. To the extent that any changes in code can impact the portions of the unwanted alarm problem that we have.
Correct.
Would love to hear how those changes could be added into this revision.
We'll definitely review that.
Very good, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, we have one public comment before we vote on this item, and this is Daniel Venencia. If you can come to the podium, please. And when you get to the podium, you're going to have 2 minutes on the issue of the fire code.
Good morning, Fire Commission. How are you?
Good morning.
I just wanted to comment on the new ordinance. I want there to be an emphasis on the Chief Regulation 4 program. I know we had talked about this a little bit last meeting. Just as far as taking a look at it, making sure that there's proper funds going to it. This is a very important program. It keeps everybody safe. We want to make sure that we have properly qualified, certified individuals. Not just because you're certified does it necessarily mean you're qualified. Currently, we want to make sure that there's training for this program, and I just wanted you guys to take a look at it. I know Captain Chad Richardson is working very hard We've met multiple times regarding the Chief Regulation 4 program, so just want to make sure that there is emphasis in that and everybody takes a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Okay. Okay. So first, let's have a motion on 5C.
Move to adopt recommendation for item 5C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I think Fire Chief has a couple of things he would like to.
Yeah, I forgot to do this at our presentation period, but we do have something we'd like to show off a little bit. Chief Villanueva.
Oh, that's right. You want that thing over here, but we didn't know.
Oh, my.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Chief, can you carry it over? Need some help with that?
Me too.
What you see here, if you recall 5 years ago, Chief Beck and LAPD challenged us to a basketball game.
Yeah.
And I played in that game. I met my team right before tip-off. We met each other. And we held our own until about halftime. And then we got blown out in the second half. And I told Chief Beck, let's pick another sport next year. And we did the CrossFit, and we won at that. I don't think we did it this year. But this past weekend during Fleet Week, there was a basketball competition. And I'm proud to say that the team from Los Angeles Fire Department beat the team from the Los Angeles Police Department, and we beat them by 10 points. Wow. So we get...
Finally.
We finally did. I think one of the causes was I did not play, and we had a strong turnout. I think we had 12 players, 10 players, and 8 teams, and we beat the Navy team. Wow. And as I recall, when we played the Navy team a couple years ago during Fleet Week, they were pretty good. So it says something if our firefighters were able to win. And we're going to display this trophy in our lobby for the next year. And we get to keep this. It's not a perpetual trophy, right? So I will take a picture of this and send it to Chief Beck in his retirement, and also to Chief Moore. So thank you to our LAFD basketball team players. Thank you to Chief Villanueva for bringing this downtown. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we actually have some public comments, so let's bring them up. So, first person is Daniel Vivencia again, from Los Angeles Fire Life Safety Committee. And we have 4. So we have 3 others.
All right. Hello again. So today, the main focus why we are here is to talk about apprenticeship programs. On July 17th, I wrote an email to Chief Crowley, and it was titled Extreme Concerns with the Chief Regulation 4 program. One of the issues that we're having is it's really hard for us to find qualified and trained personnel. For the last 3 years, we've been working on putting an apprenticeship program together for fire life safety system testers. And we've asked for that letter of support from LAFD, and we actually want to ask for a letter of support from the Fire Commission as well. We think that an apprenticeship program will help first of all, keep the public safe, making sure that there's qualified personnel out there doing all the testing. Currently, there's apprenticeship programs for barbers, beauticians, winemakers, and we think that there should be one for fire life safety system testing or Reg 4 testing. I'm going to ask my guys there to stand up. Go ahead and stand up, guys. This is my crew. Some of them are certified, some of them are not. We have people from all walks of life there. And it's getting hard for us to train, and we think that with an approved program, it will help us out a lot. There is a grant out right now from the state, and we're looking to apply for it. We've partnered with Los Angeles Mission College. They will be our educational partners, and we're hoping to be able to get that letter of support and actually get the trainings going and stuff like that. We're looking to start it's due by September 13th, so we need to try to get the letter of support by September 13th.
So talk to our assistant, and we'll talk to you.
Okay, great.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
And it will create jobs for women. It will create jobs for a lot of different walks of life. We'll be able to, I think it's good. It'd be great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Very good.
We have 3 more public comments, and then I'll get back to you. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay. Rainier de los Santos from the Rainier Group Fire Systems.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief
Good morning.
Francis. Rainier de los Santos. I'm also a member of the Fire Life Safety Committee in Los Angeles with Danny. And I just want to piggyback off from Danny's perspective, the importance of the apprenticeship program. I'm a small business owner, and I've had difficulties trying to find trained employees or skilled labor. So we're having to train them, we're picking up college kids now, or we're even thinking about picking up high school kids that graduate because of the lack of labor available. So having a trained employees or a trained apprentice, which is we're thinking about a 2-year program. When they graduate, when they finish, they'll be making much higher wage than they start, and much higher wage than what they're doing probably currently. So we'd appreciate your support, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, is there a Kendall Smith? Good morning.
How you doing, everybody? Good morning. My name is Kendall Smith. I'm a newly certified tester under the Regulation 4 program for the Los Angeles Fire Department. And as a tester, I really do believe that this apprenticeship program can very much help out in regards to knowledge and understanding the scope of work rather than learning it on the job site in regards to testing. Schooling can definitely help make this industry grow and help everyone in it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, Alexander Rossello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm Alex Rosello, certified tester with LA City, U.S. Navy, and LAPD officer. And I'm here to support my friend Danny. I've been working with him for the past 4 years, but known him over half my life. We believe this apprenticeship program is crucial for small business owners and for the city. And I'm here to also speak for the veterans. When I got out, it was tough to find work. It was tough to find good quality work. Danny gave me an opportunity. I saw what the industry looked like, and I think there needs to be some major changes, and I think this would help. So we appreciate your support, and anything you guys can do would be greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you. Thanks. I think we can get behind apprenticeship programs. All right, so can we adjourn?
Sure. Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Second. Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The 2 things I love the most, my family and my city, are right here in LA. This is a city of shared convictions, a belief in a country where we all belong. I am so proud of this city and its people.